Are you frustrated trying to cram all that knowledge into your head? Don't worry, Mindraise has you covered. My name's Peter Dove, and I've been a geek and programmer since the release of the ZX81 when I was just 11 years old. In this channel, we'll cover tons of tech, productivity techniques, and programming tips. Let's get started. Hey everyone, and thank you for your interest in learning how to memorize for your exams. We're going to use a piece of software called Mindraise, which incorporates memory palaces. I created Mindraise and it's now in its beta phase, and we're going to use it to boost our memory. Let's log in and get started. The first page we landed on is the AI chat, and earlier I asked it, what is a memory palace? It explained that memory palace, or the method of loci, is a mnemonic technique used to improve memory recall by associating new or complex information with familiar spatial locations. Historically, our ancestors needed to remember where dangers were, hunting grounds, and travel routes. Our spatial memory is excellent at recalling things associated with locations. Memory palaces have been used for centuries and remain popular today. For example, a world memory champion I know uses them to memorize hundreds of shuffled playing cards, random numbers, and even pass his law exams. Many memory experts use this technique to succeed in exams and obtain PhDs and so on. This method works exceptionally well, and I'll show you how to use it. First, let's look at our knowledge tree in Mindraise. The knowledge tree is where you store all of your facts, study notes, PDFs, and useful links. I have notes on the immune system here. When you click on them, they appear in the selected resource panel on the right. This feature allows you to memorize without switching between panels. Now, I haven't memorized these notes yet, so this will be my first attempt. We'll use memory palaces for this. Here's a memory palace I've already created, a home living room. So a memory palace is a series of specific locations, but if you ask a AI to create a memory palace, it might suggest several rooms like the front room or the living room and the bedroom. However, these are not ideal. You need very specific locations. For example, instead of just a living room, you would use the front door, the coat rack, the coffee table. You need to choose a specific path through the room. Perhaps you enter and turn right, and then work your way around the room to the entrance. This specific and organized path helps attach information to the precise objects and locations, making memorization more effective. Now, we're only going to learn this specific section here, overview of the immune system. The reason for this is, first, I don't want to take up too much of your time, and secondly, we're creating a very small memory palace. We have 3 locations in our memory palace so far. These memory palaces can be imaginary places, but they are often best based on places you know, such as your house or school or library, shopping center, a particular shop, your childhood home, the garage down the road, or a park you walk through. There are tons of locations online you can use as well. Just look through Google Maps. We're going to add 3 more locations quickly to show you how easy it is. We've got the coffee table. Let me bring up the images I've got. Having a photograph of a location really helps with the memorization. A mantelpiece with a clock and large candles. We save that. Perfect. We'll add another one, a bookshelf. I have a photograph of that bookshelf here. You'll see the photograph on the left-hand side. Normally the image just shows the interface here, but I wanted you to see it larger. The bookshelf has 2 elephants and a mini globe. Save. So we have the mantelpiece, then next to it is the bookshelf, and finally a window seat. Let's get the photograph, a wall with a window seat looking out into the garden. The garden can be a whole new set of locations. The window seat has comfortable pillows on it. Perfect. Now we have all 6 locations. I'd like to remind you that I don't know any of this information yet. I'll be memorizing this in real time along with you, and I hope you'll join me. Pause the video whenever you need to. Here we go. Front door knocker. A red door with a door knocker. Let's edit that. The fact we're going to learn is the title, Overview of the Immune System. We will associate that with the red front door and the lion knocker. Inside MindArrays, we actually have a generate story feature. And the system attempts to create a little story that helps you tie these two things together. Let's click on generate story and see what happens. As you pass through the front door with a lion knocker of your memory palace, you are welcomed into a dynamic world of the immune system. Just like the strong and fierce lion that protects its territory, the immune system fiercely defends the body against harmful invaders. Okay, although this description is a bit wordy and ethereal, it provides some useful ideas. I will imagine the red door as blood and the lion as the body's immune system fighting off the viruses. The circular border around the knocker will represent an overview with the lion looking out into the world. This association helps reinforce the memory. To associate knowledge with a location, consider these methods. The location looks similar to what you want to memorize. So the red door reminds me of blood. The shape, so the circular border around the knocker suggests an overview. The object itself and its actions. So the lion defending its territory symbolizes the immune system, for instance. The more ridiculous the story, the easier it is to memorize the facts. This may seem silly initially, but bear with me. Next, we have the coat rack. We'll input the fact and generate a story. I'll imagine someone putting on a hat and coat ready to go to a function. Suddenly, a bunch of ghastly organisms burst through the door, representing infections, and behind them a group of crazy people waving swords trying to invade the house. Let's save that and move on to the next one, the coffee table. We'll use the remaining 3 locations to memorize the components of the immune system. We have 7 components to fit into 3 locations: the coffee table, the mantelpiece, and the window seat. For the coffee table, we need to include the following components: white blood cells, antibodies, and the complement system. Let's generate a story for these components. In the memory palace, the coffee table with a book and flower represent the immune system's defense mechanism against pathogens. I'll create my own story here. Imagine you sat down at the coffee table and noticed the flowers and the book and the remote control, and the table starts breaking apart into these different components. Then the white magazine starts breaking up into white blood cells, and these blood cells crawl along to the edge of the desk and start kicking bodies off the edge, representing antibodies. They are anti the bodies. And then they crawl up to the flowers and start complimenting them on how healthy they look, representing the complement system. So we have the components, white blood cells, antibodies, and complement system associated with the coffee table. Next, we'll move on to the mantelpiece and window seat for the remaining components. Now, you might be wondering whether you should do any revision of these elements. If you're concerned about memorizing them, you can easily test yourself with a quick review. You can click Latest News and hide this, and then run yourself a quick test by clicking Fact Test. The first location is the door knocker. And remember, the door knocker represents the overview of the immune system. The circle indicates the overview, and the red color symbolizes the immune system. Let's check that. Yeah, perfect. Next is the coat rack. It symbolizes function as you get ready for a function. You pick up the umbrella and start defending yourself against invaders. This isn't right, and I know it's not right. I'm not getting the full thing I remembered. Running through your story helps you identify weak spots like this. So imagine the organisms throwing diseases at you, like infectious organisms and other invaders. The third location is the coffee table. It breaks down into components, white blood cells, antibodies, and the complement system. So let's review white blood cells, antibodies, and the complement system. Yep, we've got it. Now let's move on to the next locations. For the mantelpiece, we need to remember the lymphatic system and the spleen. Let's generate a story. Picture the mantelpiece with a clock and large candles. If you can't visualize lymphatic, use a similar sounding word or break the word into parts. Your brain will remember the loosely associated words. I'll imagine a mini lynx emphatically hitting the clock like it's a playtime system for it. So emphatically and lynx helps me memorize lymphatic system. For the spleen, I'll visualize the lynx burning its tail on a candle and screeching so loudly its spleen pops out. Grim, eh? Anyway, the more bizarre the better. Next, with the bookshelf, here I'll memorize the thymus. The books are green like moss, and the elephant lifts its thigh up to the moss, which grows down the thigh. Picture moss growing on the bookshelf to help remember thymus. Finally, we do need to remember bone marrow. So perhaps the beige color of the couch reminds you of bone. You see a dog outside running around and you throw it a bone and it's licking the bone marrow. Perfect, that's all done. Explaining this takes a lot longer than memorizing yourself. You'll find you can do it much quicker on your own, coming up with these associations. And there's plenty of material online to give you ideas on memorization techniques. Let's do a quick fact test again. It might take you a little longer to remember the stories than me, so feel free to pause the video and work through them yourself. Okay, first location. That's the door knocker with the red door, so overview of the immune system. Next location, the coat rack. This stands for function, and it's for defending against infectious organisms and other invaders. So the visualization brings this back to mind really quickly. Next, the coffee table. Imagine all the different components splitting apart. Yep, so components are, and then we have white blood cells, antibodies, the complement system. The magazine turning into white blood cells, the cells kicking the bodies off the table, and the complement system complementing the flowers. Okay, then the mantelpiece, we've got the lynx playing with the clock, emphatically brings back to mind the lymphatic system. Oh yeah, and the spleen. Hopefully you remember that silly story too. Next we move on to the bookshelf. The bookshelf has elephants and green books, which reminds us of moss. This helps us remember the thymus. Although I haven't looked up what thymus is, I'm just trying to memorize the word. You'll find it easier to memorize these things if you actually know what they are. Hopefully you were listening a little in your lectures. The final location is the seat by the window. So bone marrow immediately comes to mind here with the visualization of the dog licking the bone marrow in the garden. Let's test ourselves again. 1. Door knocker with the red door. Overview of the immune system. Coat rack. Function. Defending against infectious organisms and other invaders. Coffee table. Components are white blood cells, antibodies, the complement system. On the mantelpiece, we have the lymphatic system and the spleen, the bookshelf, thymus, and window seat, bone marrow. So you've successfully memorized this section using just 6 locations. Most people can get more than 6 locations from a living room, possibly 10. In your entire house, you could probably find up to 70 locations or more. If you'd like me to do a speed run of memorizing this entire page, then let me know in the comments below. In summary, we've discussed how to use the memory palace technique to memorize information effectively by associating different elements of the immune system with specific locations in a familiar space. Before I finish, I just wanted to remind you that time is running out to join our beta program. Our beta testers get exclusive access to mindraise.io, priority support, and a chance to shape the future of this amazing tool. Don't miss out on the opportunity to be part of something revolutionary. Check out the features of our platform and sign up today. Thanks for watching and good luck with your exams.